Hello, word nerds. Let's get right into it. First word for today is acute. This is an adjective. Do we have it here? Yes. From the 14th century, 1A1, characterized by sharpness or severity, as in acute pain. 1A2, having a sudden onset, sharp rise, and short course, as in acute disease. 1A3, being, providing, or requiring short-term medical care, as for serious illness or traumatic injury, as in acute hospitals or an acute patient. 1B, lasting a short time, as in acute experiments. 2, ending in a sharp point, as 2A, being or forming an angle measuring less than 90 degrees, as in an acute angle. 2B, composed of acute angles, as in an acute triangle. 3A, the definition is having the form, and that is in relation to an accent mark. 3B, marked with an acute accent. 3C, of the variety indicated by an acute accent. 4A, marked by keen discernment or intellectual perception, especially of subtle distinctions, as in an acute thinker. 4B, responsive to slight impressions or stimuli, as in acute hearing. 5, felt, perceived, or experienced intensely, as in acute distress. 6, demanding urgent attention, as in an acute emergency. Acutely is the adverb, and acuteness is the noun. And we have some synonym information. Acute, critical, crucial, mean of uncertain outcome. Acute stresses intensification of conditions leading to a culmination or breaking point, as in an acute housing shortage. Critical adds to acute implications of imminent change, of attendant suspense, and of decisiveness in the outcome, as in the war has entered a critical phase. Crucial suggests a dividing of the ways and often a test or trial involving the determination of a future course or direction, as in a crucial vote. And then the synonym, there's another synonym, says see in addition the word sharp. Next is ACV, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, actual cash value, or 2, air cushion vehicle. Next is the word, I think it's pronounced acyclic. This is an adjective from 1853. Not cyclic, as A, not disposed in whorls or cycles. Whorls is spelled W-H-O-R-L-S. B, having an open chain structure. And then the synonym is aliphatic, A-L-I-P-H-A-T-I-C, as in an acyclic compound. Next is acyclovir. Let's see if we are pronouncing this right. Acyclovir. And I think the last word is actually acyclic, not acyclic. So acyclovir is a noun from 1979. A cyclic synthetic nucleoside, C8H11N5O3, used especially to treat the symptoms of chickenpox, shingles, and the genital form of herpes simplex. Next is acyl, A-C-Y-L. This is a noun from 1899, a radical RCO derived usually from an organic acid by removal of the hydroxyl from all acid groups, often used in combination. Next is, acylate? Acylate. Yep, I think that's how it's pronounced. A-C-Y-L-A-T-E. This is a transitive verb from 1903. To introduce an acyl radial into. Let's try that one again. To introduce an acyl radical into. doesn't totally seem like a complete sentence, so I'm a little confused by that one, but that's okay. Acylation is the noun. Next is AD, or just add. This is the first form of it. Noun from 1841. It has the synonym advertisement, and I was about to say advertisement, because that's how they say it in England, but I am not from there. I just like to say it in that way. Advertisement. 2, synonym is advertising. Next form of ad is a noun from circa 1928. It has the word advantage, and then the number 4, which is saying the fourth definition of the word advantage. Next is another AD, but this is all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, active duty, 2, after date, 3, Alzheimer's disease, 4, Anno Domini, often printed in small capitals and often punctuated, 5, assembly district, 6, assistant director, and 7, athletic director. Next is A/D. Both are in caps. This is an abbreviation for analog digital. Next we have, this is interesting. We have AD dash, so it's a prefix, but it has a bunch of options. So it says add, or I'll just read them as letters. AD, or AC, or AF, or AG, or AL, or AP, or AS, or AT. That's confusing, and I've never seen anything like that. But, like I said, this is a prefix. It's not giving me a year. But 1, it says to, or toward. Usually AC before C, K, or Q, as in acculturation, and AF before F, as in affluent, and AG before G, as in aggradation, and AL before L, as in alliteration, and AP before P, as in apportion, and AS before S, as in assuasive, and AT before T, as in attune, and AD before other sounds, but sometimes AD even before one of the listed consonants, as in adsorb, which, if you will go back a few episodes, you will hear me talk about that word. 2, near, adjacent to. In this sense, always in the form AD, as in adrenal. So basically what this was saying is it's really the letter A, but then depending on what the third letter is, the second letter changes. So often, like in the case of affluent, or affluent, depending on how you want to say that, the third letter is F, so the second letter becomes F, so they're doubled. And that's as far into that one as I'm going to go. Next, we have another AD, but this is a suffix, so it's -AD. It's also the first form of -AD. This is an adverb, and it says in the direction of, toward, as in cephalad, CEPHALAD, or cephalad. I'm not sure of the pronunciation of that A. Next is the second form of -AD. This is a noun, member of a botanical group, as in bromeliad, BROMELIAD. The etymology is saying this is probably from the Greek suffix denoting descent from or connection with. Next we have ADA, capital ADA. This is a noun from 1979. A structured computer programming language. I did not know that. The etymology is saying this is from Ada, a trademark from Augusta Ada Byron, Lady Lovelace. God, is that her whole name? Who I think who died maybe in 1852, and I guess she was an English mathematician. My great-grandma was named Ada, so I have a personal connection to this one. She lived until she was around 91. She was extremely eccentric and a fascinating person. And there's a VHS tape of her talking. I think my dad was interviewing her. I think that was made in maybe 1987. And we cannot find this VHS, and I would really love to get it digitized because I really want to watch it, which I don't think I've really ever seen most of it. But yeah, she was a fascinating, indescribable person. Oh, and she was my last great-grandparent to die. I was, I think, 22 years old when she passed away. So that one kind of hit me. I thought she would live forever, but obviously nobody does. Next, and the last one for today, is ADA, all caps, abbreviation for 1. The American Dental Association. 2. Americans for Democratic Action. 3. Average daily attendance. 4. Americans with Disabilities Act. That was pretty important, and there's a great drunk history episode about that. And 5. Assistant District Attorney. And that will end the episode. Thank you for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. I am your host, Spencer. Real quick, if you listen to the last couple of episodes, and I highly suggest that you listen to these in order, because if you don't, you're going to be terribly confused. But I mentioned that my lips were not working as well as I wanted them to, and I realized this morning that the day before I recorded those, which was 2 days ago, as I'm recording this one, I went to the dentist, and for some reason, something weird happened, and my lips feel like, I don't know, a little swollen or a little something, so I'm hoping that gets better, but if it doesn't in the next day or two, I'm going to have to get some stuff checked out. But, yes, my lips still feel a little bit odd, so hopefully I don't screw things up too bad, but bear with me. Did you need to know that information? No, you didn't. I just felt like telling you. So let's get into some words. First word for today is adage, A-D-A-G-E. This is a noun from 1513. A saying, often in metaphorical form, that embodies a common observation. Next we have adagio or adagio. This is the first form, A-D-A-G-I-O. This is an adverb or adjective from 1683. At a slow tempo, used chiefly as a direction in music. The etymology is saying this is from, looks like Italian. Yes, of course, I did know that. Italian, which is combining ad, which means to, and agio, which means ease. So kind of with ease. Next, second form of adagio. This is a noun from 1699. 1. A musical composition or movement in adagio tempo. 2. A ballet duet by a man and woman or a mixed trio displaying difficult feats of balance, lifting, or spinning. Next, we have the word atom, the name, I should say, atom. This is the first form of it. Noun from before the 12th century. Depending on who you talk to, some might say about 6,000 years ago, to be more specific. I would not be one of those people. 1. The first man and father by Eve of Cain and Abel. 2. The This word goes over to the second line. I think it's the unregenerate nature of man, used especially in the phrase the old Adam. Adamic or adamical are adjectives. Next, we have the second form of the name Adam. This is an adjective from 1872 of relating to or being an 18th century decorative style, as of furniture, characterized by straight lines, surface decoration, and conventional designs, plural, as festooned garlands and medallions. Next, we have the word adamance, A-D-A-M-A-N-C-E. This is a noun from 1954. We just have the synonym adamancy, which happens to be our next word. And I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing this correctly or emphasizing the correct syllable. Adamancy. Yep, I think that's right. Adamancy. Noun from 1937. The quality or state of being adamant. Obstinacy is a synonym. I think I'm emphasizing that one correctly. Obstinacy. I want there to be an N, obstinacy, but that's not how it's spelled. Next we have Adam and Eve. It's Adam-and-Eve. This is a noun from 1807. We just have the synonym putty root. This is totally going over my head. Putty root is one word spelled P-U-T-T-Y-R-O-O-T. And in many years we will find out what that means. Next we have the word adamant. So related to a couple of words ago, this is the first form of it. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A stone, as a diamond, formerly believed to be of impenetrable hardness. 2. An unbreakable or extremely hard substance. Next, we have the second form of adamant. This is an adjective from 1897. Unshakable or insistent, especially in maintaining a position or opinion. And the synonym says see inflexible. Adamantly is the adverb. Next we have adamantine. Adamantine. A-D-A-M-A-N-T-I-E. For some of you comic book fans or Marvel fans, this is not adamantium. That's something different. This is an adjective from the 13th century. 1. Made of or having the quality of adamant. 2. Rigidly firm. Unyielding is a synonym, as in adamantine discipline. 3. Resembling the diamond in hardness or luster. After reading those definitions, I have to believe that adamantium, which is the metal that covers Wolverine's skeleton, is directly related or directly came from this word, or I guess adamant would be the main word, talking about hardness and unmoving, unyielding. Moving on, next word is Adam's apple. This is a noun circa 1755. The projection in the front of the neck formed by the largest cartilage of the larynx. And side note here, I know somebody who was trying to think of the term Adam's apple, and she couldn't. And the first thing she thought of was, yes, this is very odd, goiter belt. I'll just let you think about that one for a minute. And so every time the term Adam's apple would come up, we would say goiter belt, and I still think of that to this day, and that was, probably like 20 years ago. Next, we have Adam's needle, noun, circa 1760, as often cultivated yucca of coastal pine barrens of the eastern U.S. with a basal rosette of sharp-tipped leaves having loose threads along the margins. And yucca, the Latin name or the scientific name, is Yucca filamentosa. Next, we have the word adapt. And this will be the last word for today because it looks like a pretty long definition, mostly filled with synonym information. This is a verb from the 15th century. Here is the transitive verb definition: to make fit as for a new use, often by modification. And the intransitive verb definition says to become adapted. Adaptedness is the noun. The etymology is saying that this is from, looks like the Latin adaptare, which is combining ad plus aptare, which means to fit. So synonyms, let's see. Adjust, accommodate, conform, and reconcile mean to bring one thing into correspondence with another. The main word, adapt, implies a modification according to changing circumstances, as in adapted themselves to the warmer climate. Adjust suggests bringing into a close and exact correspondence of harmony such as exists between parts of a mechanism, as in adjusted the budget to allow for inflation. Accommodate may suggest yielding or compromising to effect a correspondence, as in accommodated his political beliefs in order to win. Conform applies to bringing into accordance with a pattern, example, or principle, as in refused to conform to society's values. Reconcile implies the demonstration of the underlying compatibility of things that seem to be incompatible, as in tried to reconcile what he said with what I knew. That will be the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was as good for you as it was for me. I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me for another episode. If you're here, that means I haven't scared you away yet. I think this is episode 52? Maybe 53. Doesn't matter. Yeah, let's do it. First word, adaptable. This is an adjective from 1800, capable of being or becoming adapted. Synonym says see plastic. Adaptability is a noun. Adaptation is our next word, noun from 1610. 1. The act or process of adapting, the state of being adapted. 2. Adjustment to environmental conditions, as A. Adjustment to a sense organ to the intensity or quality of stimulation, or B. Modification of an organism or its parts that make it more fit for existence under the conditions of its environment. 3. Something that is adapted, specifically a composition rewritten into a new form. Adaptational is the adjective, and adaptationally is the adverb. Next word is adaptationist. This is an adjective from 1978, explaining or seeking to explain the evolution of traits in terms of their adaptive function or survival value. And the adaptationist is also a noun. Adapter, A-D-A-P-T-E-R, also spelled with an O-R at the end. It's a noun from 1801. One that adapts. 2. A device for connecting two parts, as of different diameters, of an apparatus. 2b, an attachment for adapting apparatus for uses not originally intended. Next is adaption, A-D-A-P-T-I-O-N. This is a noun from 1704, and it just has the synonym adaptation. So maybe adaption is kind of an old form of that. Next we have adaptive. This is an adjective from 1760. 1. Showing or having a capacity for or tendency toward adaptation. 2a. Designed or intended to assist disabled persons. The synonym is assistive, as in adaptive devices. 2b. Engaged in by disabled persons with the aid of equipment or techniques adapted for a disability, as in adaptive skiing. Adaptively is the adverb, adaptiveness is a noun, and adaptivity is a noun. Adaptive optics is next. This is a noun from 1975. A telescopic system that improves image resolution by compensating for distortions caused by atmospheric turbulence. Next is adaptive radiation, noun, circa 1901. Evolutionary diversification of a generalized ancestral form with production of a number of adaptively specialized forms. Next is adaptogen, A-D-A-P-T-O-G-E-N. This is a noun from 1969. A non-toxic substance, and especially a plant extract that is held to increase the body's ability to resist the damaging effects of stress and promote or restore normal physiological functioning. Adaptogenic is the adjective. Next is the word or name adar, and let's see if I'm pronouncing this correctly. It looks like adar. Capital A, D-A-R. This is a noun from 14th century. The 6th month of the civil year or the 12th month of the ecclesiastical year in the Jewish calendar. And it says, see the month table. Next is Adar Rishon. A-D-A-R. Next word, capital R-I-S-H-O-N. Rishon. I think that's how it's pronounced. Adar Rishon. This is a noun from 1905. The intercalary month of the Jewish calendar that precedes Adar Sheni in leap years. And it also says, see the month table. Next is Adar Sheni. And this is pronounced Sheni. Adar Sheni. And the second part is spelled S-H-E-N-I. Noun from 1891. I wonder why the years are different on these three, because they're very much related. The month of the Jewish calendar that takes the place of Adar in leap years. See month table again. Next is adaxial. Adaxial. Yep, adjective, circa 1900. Situated on the same side as or facing the axis as of an organ, as in the adaxial or upper surface of a leaf. Next is ADC, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, aide de camp. There are dashes in between those. 2, aid to dependent children. 3, Air Defense Command. And 4, Assistant Division Commander. And next, this will be our last word for this episode. This is the bottom of the first column on page 14, and it does go over a little bit to the second column. This is a verb from the 14th century. Transitive verb definitions are 1, to join or unite so as to bring about an increase or improvement, as in adds 60 acres to his land, and wine adds a creative touch to cooking. 2, to say further. Append is the synonym, A-P-P-E-N-D. And by the way, add is A-D-D. We already did add as in just A-D. 3, to combine numbers into an equivalent simple quantity or number. 4, to include as a member of a group, as in don't forget to add me in. And now the intransitive verb definitions. 1a, to perform addition. 1b, to come together to unite by addition. 2a, to serve as an addition, as in the movie will add to his fame. 2b, to make an addition, as in added to her savings. Addable or addible, let me spell those, A-D-D-A-B-L-E or A-D-D-I-B-L-E. I think they're both pronounced addible. That is an adjective, and that will be the end of this episode. Again, thank you for listening through to this whole thing. It's a big task I'm taking on. I hope that I actually finish it. We're only in the ADs. We have a long, long, long way to go. Any support you can give me, because this does take time, there is a link to a Patreon in the episode details. And I'm just going to keep on doing this as long as I feel like it. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode. This morning, I was listening to a podcast. I think it was Stuff You Should Know podcast. And they were talking about déjà vu. And then near the end of the episode, they talked about the opposite of déjà vu, which is a phrase called, I think it's jamais vu. I believe it's spelled J-A-M-A-I-S, and then vu. And this means essentially something that you know that you don't recognize that you know. And so the example that they gave, which is why I'm talking about it here, is when you see or hear a word or a phrase over and over again, and it loses its meaning. And if you've listened to past episodes, which of course I recommend you do, because you won't understand the dictionary if you don't, I have repeated words over and over again just because they're in the definition over and over again, or whatever it is, and I've commented, this word is starting to sound really weird, and I'm sure you've all experienced that in your day-to-day life. Maybe when writing something over and over again, it just loses its meaning. The letters don't look like letters anymore. The word as a whole doesn't look like anything that is kind of understandable anymore. So I just wanted to point that out. Jamais vu is the opposite of déjà vu. All right, so let's get into the words. We are starting with ADD, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, the American Dialect Dictionary, and 2, attention deficit disorder. I'm not sure if I have any ADD, attention deficit disorder, but I definitely know people who are self-diagnosed or officially diagnosed. This is a weird thing that has come up over the last 20, 30 years. Whether or not these diagnoses are valid is a whole other thing. I think there's a lot of social and cultural changes that have affected children in different ways that just didn't exist, decades earlier. And not that I'm necessarily saying that this is a good thing, but I do remember tutoring a child in math who was diagnosed, or who eventually got diagnosed with ADD, before they started taking medication for it. It was very hard to get them to focus. And the first time I tutored them after they started taking medication, it was a night and day change. They were able to just easily sit and focus, and there were no issues. For kids who really, really do have a hard time focusing, it definitely did help. But I also feel like there could be other forms, other ways. I think people need to maybe get a little creative and not necessarily just medicate every problem. I think that there are you need to look at sort of the other issues, other maybe underlying issues of maybe why this is happening, and teach meditation is a big thing that has really helped a lot of kids. I'm going to get off my tangent on ADD, but I was just thinking about that because that's definitely a big thing that's going on in our culture today. All right, moving on. Addax, ADDAX. This is not something I am familiar with. This is a noun from 1693. A large, light-colored Saharan antelope that has long, spiraling horns, and the scientific name is Addax nasomaculatus, and there is a little black and white drawing of an addax. Next is addend, ADDEND. This is a noun from 1674. A number to be added to another, and it is short for addendum. And that is our next word, addendum, a noun from 1684. 1, a thing added. Addition is the synonym. 2, a supplement to a book, often used in plural, but singular is, now this abbreviation I don't know, CONSTR. I should be able to figure out what this is very easily, but I am not coming up with anything. I want to say constructed, but that doesn't really fit in the context of this sentence. Well, I'm feeling really stupid that I can't come up with that word, so we're just going to move on. Next is adder, ADDER. This is the first form of it. Noun from the 14th century. 1, the common venomous viper of Europe. Broadly, any of various snakes of the viper family. And it says compared to puff adder, and the scientific name is Vipera berus, Berus. Number 2, any of several North American snakes, as the hognose snakes, that are harmless but are popularly believed to be venomous. And the etymology is saying this is from the Middle English, alternatively by false division of a nadre, which essentially comes from the Latin natrix or natrix, which means water snake. Now, the second form of adder, this is a noun from 1580, one that adds, especially a device, as in a computer that performs addition. Next is adder's tongue. This is ADDER''S dash tongue, like the tongue in your mouth. This is a noun from 1578. 1. Any of a genus of small ferns having a spore-bearing stalk resembling a serpent's tongue. And the genus scientific name is Ophioglossum, and it says the family is Ophioglossacea. Shall I spell that for you? Ophioglossacea. And the number 2 definition just has the synonym dogtooth violet. And I'm guessing that's some sort of fern or flower. Next is addict, ADDICT. This is the first form of it. Transitive verb from 1534. 1. To devote or surrender. No. To devote or surrender oneself to say something habitually or obsessively, as in addicted to gambling. 2. To cause addiction to a substance in a person or animal. The etymology is saying this is from Latin addicere, ADDICERE, which means to favor, and that is made combining ad and dicere, which means to say, and there's more at the word diction. Again, obviously from a spelling standpoint, you can see how addict and diction are similar, but from a content standpoint, it doesn't completely make sense to me. You know, being addicted to something and the verb to say, I'm curious how that happened. Maybe there's a little bit more information in the next form of addict, which I will read to you now. Noun from 1909. 1. One who is addicted, especially to a substance. 2. It just has the synonym devotee, as in a detective novel addict. So, no, that didn't really give me any more information, but that's okay. Maybe we will find more at the word diction. Next is addiction. Noun from 1599. 1. The quality or state of being addicted, as in addiction to reading. 2. Compulsive need for and use for a habit-forming substance, as heroin, nicotine, or alcohol, characterized by tolerance and by well-defined physiological symptoms upon withdrawal. Broadly, persistent compulsive use of a substance known by the user to be harmful. Next is addictive, adjective from 1939, causing or characterized by addiction, as in an addictive drug or an addictive personality. And we will do one more for today. Add-in, ADD-IN. This is an adjective from 1980, being or able to be added to and enclosed within an existing system as a computer, as in add-in hardware. And add-in is also a noun. That will end this episode. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you in the next one, which I'm going to record right now. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another fascinating, educational, and absolutely hilarious episode of The Dictionary. I am your host, Spencer. First word is Addison's disease. Addison's is a name, capital ADDISON apostrophe S, or at least I'm assuming it's a name. And yes, if I look at the etymology, it says Thomas Addison died. I assume that's the symbol for died. I should probably look that up. In 1860, English physician. So this is from circa 1856. It is a noun. A destructive disease marked by deficient adrenocortical secretion and characterized by extreme weakness, loss of weight, low blood pressure, gastrointestinal disturbances, and brownish pigmentation of the skin and mucous membranes. That sounds like it sucks. Next is the word addition, noun from 14th century. And I see 14th century a lot in here. I also see 12th century. I wonder why specifically do so many of these come from the 14th century? You know, language existed well before that. Maybe not English. Maybe that's part of it. Although I feel like English existed well before that too. But that's something maybe I should look up. Why do so many of these words have their basis in the 14th century? But let's get into this definition. 1. A part added as to a building or residential section. 2. The result of adding. Increase is a synonym. 3. The act or process of adding, especially the operation of combining numbers so as to obtain an equivalent simple quantity. 4. Direct chemical combination of substances into a single product. And then we have the phrase in addition, and it has the synonyms besides and also. And now we have the phrase in addition to, which says combined or associated with. And besides to is the synonym, so that's the second definition of the word besides. Next is additional, adjective circa 1644, existing by way of addition. Added is a synonym, as in additional information. Additionally is our next word. This is an adverb from 1659. In or by way of addition. The synonym is furthermore. Now we have additive, first form, adjective from 1699. 1. Of, relating to, or characterized by addition, as in an additive process. 2. Produced by addition. 3. Characterized by being or producing effects as drug responses or gene products, that when the causative factors act together are the sum of their individual effects. Additively is the adverb, and additivity is the noun. And as I've mentioned over the last few episodes or so, my lips are still feeling a little bit weird. Maybe it's a tiny bit better than it has been the last couple of days, but we'll see how that goes. Keep on listening to more episodes of the dictionary for the ongoing story of my lips. I could also tell you the story about my teeth, but I'm not going to do that. All right, next is, where did we leave off? Okay, this is the second form of additive, noun 1945, a substance added to another in relatively small amounts to affect a desired change in properties, as in food additives. I'm not a real big fan of food additives. I could go off on a whole tangent about food, but that might end up in another podcast, actually. All right, next is additive identity, noun from 1953. An identity element, as 0 in the group of whole numbers under the operation of addition, that in a given mathematical system leaves unchanged any element to which it is added. Next is additive inverse, noun from 1953. A number that when added to a given number gives 0, as in the additive inverse of 4 is -4, and it says compare to opposite 3. I was never aware that that had a term. Next is addle, the first form, ADDLE. This is an adjective from 1682. 1. In italics it says of an egg, and it just has the synonym rotten. And the second definition is the synonym confused. The etymology looks interesting. It says Middle English, addle or adel, A-D-E-L, which means filth. And that is coming from the Old English adela, which is akin to MLG, I'm not sure what that is, which is adele, which means liquid manure. Liquid manure sounds really gross, and I think of diarrhea. So an addle basically means nasty and gross and rotten, and something that I don't want. But let's read the second form of addle. This is a verb from 1682, transitive verb definitions are to throw into confusion. Confound is the synonym. And the intransitive verb definitions are 1, to become rotten. Spoil is the synonym. And 2, to become confused. So we've got rotten and confusion for the word addle. I know I've heard this word before. I honestly can't think of any specific examples right off the top of my head, but I don't claim to have a very good vocabulary. In fact, I claim to not have a very good vocabulary. But I'm sure most people are aware of this word. Next, we have the word addlepated. Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced. Addlepated. Addlepated. Adjective from 1630. 1, being mixed up. And confused is the synonym. 2 just has the synonym eccentric. This is definitely a word I've never heard before. Addlepated. I'm going to have to see if I can get this word into my brain and use it in day-to-day usage. Eccentric, confused. I'm going to have to remember the word addlepated. Next, we have ADDN, all lowercase. This is an abbreviation for addition. Now we have ADDNL, also an abbreviation for additional. Next is add-on, ADD-ON, the first form of it. This is a noun from 1941. Something added on as A sum or amount added on. B, something as an accessory or added feature that enhances the thing it is added to, as in computer hardware add-ons. Next is the second form of add-on, adjective from 1955. 1, being or able to be added on, as in an add-on device. 2, able to be added on, as in add-on certificates of deposit. Next, we have the word address, ADDRESS, first form of it, and I'm going to do something I'm going to break my rules. There's 2 forms of it. The second form, though, goes on to the next column, so I'm only going to read the first form of address today. This is a verb from the 14th century. See, there's the 14th century again. Transitive verb definitions. 1, this is archaic. A, has the synonyms direct and aim, AIM. B, to direct, to go. Send is the synonym. 2A, to direct the efforts or attention of oneself, as in will address himself to the problem. 2B, to deal with. Treat, TREAT, is the synonym, as in intrigued by the chance to address important issues. That is from I.L. Horowitz. 3 is also archaic. To make ready, and we have the synonym dress, DRESS. Ooh, and I don't know if you can hear that, but my stomach is growling. I am hungry. 4A, to communicate directly, as in addresses his thanks to his host. 4B, to speak or write directly to, especially to deliver a formal speech to. 5A, to mark directions for delivery on, as in address a letter. 5B, to consign to the care of another, as an agent or factor. 6, to greet by a prescribed form. 7, to adjust the club preparatory to hitting a golf ball. 8, to identify as a computer peripheral or memory location by an address or a name for information transfer. And the intransitive verb definition says it's obsolete. It says to direct one's speech or attention. Addresser is the noun. And let's see, the etymology for this one is saying, I'm going to pare this down for you. It looks like it's from the Latin ad plus drescere, which means to direct or put right. And there's more at the word dress, DRESS. And that will end this episode. And the next one will start with the word address. Some people say address, and some say address. For me, I think it kind of depends on the context of what I'm talking about. But it looks like in here they have the emphasis on the second syllable. But yeah, that will be the next word. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. We're going to start off with the word address. Bottom of the second column of page 14. This is a noun from 1539. 1. Dutiful and courteous attention, especially in courtship. Usually you're used in the plural. 2a, this is going to go on to the next page. A readiness and capability for dealing, as with a person or problem, skillfully and smoothly. And the synonym is adroitness, adroitness. I think I've heard the word adroitness, but I've never really understood what it meant. 2b, this is obsolete. A making ready. Also, a state of preparedness. 3a, manner or bearing oneself, as in a man of rude address. 3b, manner of speaking or singing. Delivery is the synonym. 4, a formal communication, especially a prepared speech delivered to a special audience or on a special occasion. 5a, a place where a person or organization may be communicated with. 5b, directions for delivery on the outside of an object as a letter or package. 5c, the designation of place of delivery placed between the heading and salutation on a business letter. 5d, the designation of a computer account from which one can send or receive email. 6, a preparatory position of the player and club in golf. 7a, a location, as in the memory of a computer, where particular information is stored. 7b, a series of usually alphanumeric characters that specifies the storage location as on a network or in a computer memory, or a computer's memory, of particular information, as in an internet address. And the synonym, it says, see the word tact, T-A-C-T. I have no idea why tact is a synonym, but we'll probably learn that when we get to that word when I am elderly. Next, we have the word addressable, adjective from 1953. 1, able to be addressed. Directly accessible, as in addressable registers in a computer. 2, of or relating to a subscription television system that uses decoders addressable by the system operator. Addressability is a noun. Addressee is our next word. This is a noun from 1810, one to whom something is addressed. Adduce, that is one word, not two words, is our next word. It is A-D-D-U-C-E, transitive verb from the 15th century, to offer as example, reason, or proof in discussion or analysis. Adducer is the noun, and I think that's pronounced correctly. The etymology is saying this is from the Latin adducere, which literally means to lead to, and there's more at the word tow, T-O-W. Next is adduct, first form, A-D-D-U-C-T, transitive verb circa 1839, to draw as a limb toward or past the median axis of the body. Also, to bring together similar parts, as in adduct the fingers. I learn something new every day, and when I'm doing this podcast, I'm learning many things every time I read it. So when you put your fingers together, that is adducting, I guess. The second form of adduct is a noun from 1941, a chemical addition product, as in adductions form as carcinogenic metabolites bind to DNA. Next is adduction, noun from the 14th century. 1, the action of adducting, the state of being adducted. 2, the act or action of adducing. Next is adductor, adductor. This is a noun from 1615. 1. A muscle that draws a part toward the median line of the body or toward the axis of an extremity. 2. A muscle that closes the valves of a bivalve mollusk. And I do think I have heard adductor used in terms of muscles. It's not giving me an example of which muscles are adductors, but I guess I'll have to look that up on my own. Next is add up, 2 words, intransitive verb from 1850. 1a, to come to the expected total, as in the bill doesn't add up. 1b, to form an intelligible pattern, make sense, as in her story just doesn't add up. 2a, we have the synonym amount, the 1b definition, and it says used with the word to, as in the play adds up to a lot of laughs. 2b, to amount to a lot, as in just a little each time, but it all adds up. Transitive verb definition is to form an opinion of, as in added him up at a glance. Next is a suffix, -ade. This is a noun from, it's not giving me a year. 1. Act or action, as in blockade. 2. Product, especially a sweet drink, as in limeade. I don't know why they wouldn't give lemonade. It seems way more common, but maybe they're just trying to give interesting examples. And again, my stomach just growled. And I think we'll give one more for today. This is an animal. Adelie penguin. Let's see if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Adelie penguin, capital A-D-E, and there's an accent over the E, L-I-E. This is a noun from 1907, a small Antarctic penguin called also Adelie. And the scientific name is Pygoscelis adelae, Pygoscelis Adeliae. And it looks like it's from the Adelie Coast, and that's where it gets its name. And it gives a little drawing, a black and white drawing of 3 Adelie penguins. That will end this episode. Thank you for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. No joke. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. I am your host, Spencer. And right off the bat, I want to say that I am recording this on April Fool's Day, which in hindsight seems like it would have been a pretty good day to premiere this podcast. But instead, I'm very excited to watch the new reboot season of The Twilight Zone on CBS All Access. No, this is not an ad. I kind of wish it were, because then they'd give me some money. But it's not always about the money, or it shouldn't be about the money at all. No, The Twilight Zone, I've actually been watching the original series on Netflix. I think I'm a little bit into, it's complicated. Season 4 is on Hulu, but seasons 1, 2, 3, and 5 are on Netflix. I finished 1, 2, and 3. I haven't jumped to 4. I was just sticking with Netflix, and I think I started season 5. But I'm really excited for Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. And that's a perfect segue into the dictionary. Is it a perfect segue? No. All right, first word for today is a suffix, it looks like, a long suffix, -adelphous, Adelphous. It says it's an adjective, and as I'm looking through this, there's more etymology information than actual definition. But the definition says, having such, having stamen fascicles. All right, let's figure this out. So in parentheses, there is a part that says such or so many. So the total definition says having such or so many stamen fascicles, Fascicles. Not exactly sure what those are. I might have to look that up. And then it gives an example, as in monodelphous, or monadelphous, Monadelphous. Adelphous is our long suffix. And the etymology looks like it's saying this is from the Greek adelphos, which means brother, and that is combining a with delphus, an a, which means together in this case, which is akin to homos, which means the same, plus delphus, which means womb, W-O-M-B, and there's more at the synonyms same and dolphin. Interesting. All right, moving on, we have a prefix, aden, A-D-E-N, dash, or adeno. I think it's adene or adeno. And this definition just says gland, as in adenine, so I guess it probably is adenine, or adenoid, that's the second definition, although it's not officially 1 and 2, they're related, and that is as in adenovirus. The etymology says this is from, I'm paring it down for you, the Latin, or it comes from the Latin inguine, I-N-G-U-E-N, inguine, which means groin. And originally it is from the Greek adin or adine, which is akin to the Latin inguine. And my paring down just became even longer, so that was dumb. All right, next is the word adenine, A-D-E-N-I-N-E. This is a noun from 1885. A purine base, C5H5N5, that codes hereditary information in the genetic code in DNA and RNA. And it says compared to the words cytosine, guanine, thymine, and uracil. And the etymology, it just says it's from its presence in glandular tissue. I'm not exactly sure what that is telling me. But I believe, I know in DNA it has the four letters C, G, T, and A. I think those are correct. And I believe the word that we're looking at, adenine, plus the first 3 of the 4 synonyms where it says compare, those are those 4, the names of those 4 letters, the full names. I'm not sure what uracil is, U-R-A-C-I-L. Maybe that's an RNA. I don't know enough about science. Apologies, go look that up. Next is adenitis, A-D-E-N-I-T-I-S. This is a noun, circa 1848, inflammation of a gland, especially, and then it has a synonym, which is lower caps, lymphadenitis, L-Y-M-P-H-A-D-E-N-I-T-I-S. Next is a word that will be fun to say, adenocarcinoma. Adenocarcinoma. I think that's a 7-syllable word. This is a noun circa 1889. A malignant tumor originating in glandular epithelium. Lots of fun words there. Adenocarcinomatous is the adjective. Next is adenohypophysis or hypophysis. Let's see. Hypophysis. Adenohypophysis. I think that's how it's pronounced. This is a noun from 1935. The anterior glandular lobe of the pituitary gland. And we have a couple other forms. Adenohypophyseal is an adjective. And there's 2 versions of that spelled slightly differently. Let's see, the first one is Adenohypophyseal, and the second form is just at the end SIAL. Next, we have adenoid, ADENOID. This is the first form of it, noun from circa 1890. Either of 2 abnormally enlarged masses of lymphoid tissue at the back of the pharynx that usually obstruct the nasal and ear passages. Also, such a mass when not abnormally enlarged, usually used in the plural. I recently interviewed my grandfather for a kind of a life story video, And in it, he was talking about when he was a child and a couple of, like he had scarlet fever, I think, when he was a kid, and he also had his tonsils and adenoids removed, which I guess was pretty common. I honestly didn't really know what adenoids were. I had heard it, but I wasn't really familiar. I honestly don't even know what the tonsils are, to be perfectly honest. But I've never had those taken out, so it's kind of foreign to me. But here we have a very clear description. Next, we have the second form of adenoids, and it does look like the pronunciation is adenoids, three syllables. This is an adjective circa 1947. 1. Of or relating to the adenoids. 2. Relating to, affected with, or associated with abnormally enlarged adenoids, as in a severe adenoid condition, or adenoid facies or facies, Facies. That's probably some official scientific condition. Next is adenoidal, Adenoidal. This is an adjective from 1919, exhibiting the characteristics as snoring, mouth breathing, and voice nasality of one affected with abnormally enlarged adenoids. And then just the word adenoid is a synonym, as in an adenoidal tenor, Tenor, not usually used technically, it says. Adenoma is next, Adenoma. This is a noun from 1870, a benign tumor of a glandular structure or of glandular origin. Adenomatous is the adjective. Next we have adenosine. Adenosine, that's how it's pronounced. Adenosine. I think that is proper. Adenosine. This is a noun from circa 1909. A nucleoside C10H13N5O4 that is a constituent of RNA and yields adenine and ribose on hydrolysis. Next is adenosine diphosphate. This is a noun from 1938. It just has the synonym ADP, which I'm guessing is an acronym, which we will, I guess we'll get to that in a little bit. Next is adenosine monophosphate. This is a noun from 1950, and this just has the synonym AMP, which we will get to much further along than ADP. And we have a third one, which is similar, adenosine 3,5 monophosphate. So the 3 has an apostrophe after it, then there's a comma, then there's a 5, and then another apostrophe, and then a dash, monophosphate. This is a noun from 1970, and the synonym just says cyclic AMP. So similar to the previous one, but slightly different. Next is adenosine triphosphate. What? Triphosphatase. That's it. Adenosine triphosphatase. This is a noun from 1943, and it has the synonym ATPase. ATPASE. We're still in this world. Next is adenosine triphosphate. This is a noun from 1938, and it has the synonym ATP. Again, probably an acronym that we will get to later in the A's. Next is adenovirus. This is a noun from 1956. Any of a family of DNA viruses originally identified in human adenoid tissue, causing infections of the respiratory system, conjunctiva probably, and gastrointestinal tract, and including some capable of inducing malignant tumors in experimental animals. And adenoviral is the adjective. And at the beginning it says any of a family, and the family that it gives is Adenoviridae. That's the scientific name. Adenoviridae. And the last word for this episode is adenylate cyclase. And let's check the pronunciation. Adenylate cyclase. Something like that. This is a noun from 1968, an enzyme that catalyzes the formation of cyclic AMP from ATP. And if you will remember, AMP is, let me find it, adenosine monophosphate, and ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That will finish the episode. Thank you for listening. And that's all I have to say. Thanks. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. First word for this episode is adenyl cyclase. This is a noun from 1968, and it just has the synonym adenylate cyclase. Did we read that one? No, I don't think we... wait, yes. That was the previous word we read. So if you want to know what adenylate cyclase is, go ahead and listen to the previous episode. Next is I'm having trouble with this one. Adenylic acid. Adenylic acid, noun from 1894. It just has the synonym AMP, which I believe is an acronym. And that is the exact same synonym that one of the words in the last episode had as well. So again, go ahead and listen to the last episode. Next, we have the word adept, ADEPT, finally a more normal, quote-unquote, word. This is the first form, noun from 1709, a highly skilled or well-trained individual. An expert is the synonym, as in an adept at chess. So I don't think I've really heard it used in this form where you're calling somebody an adept. I've just heard it used in the next form, which is adjective, where one is adept. But the etymology for this is saying this is from the NL, I think that is that like New Latin maybe, adeptus, which means alchemist who has attained the knowledge of how to change base metals into gold, which of course we know is insane. This is from the Latin word adibisci, ADIPISCI, which means to attain, and that is from combining ad plus apisci, which means to reach. And there's more at the word apt, APT. So now we have this second form of adept, which is the adjective, circa 1691. Thoroughly proficient. Expert is the synonym, as in adept at fixing cars. Another synonym is proficient. Adeptly is the adverb, and adeptness is the noun. Next is adequacy, noun from 1808. The quality or state of being adequate. Thank you for the clearness of that. And next is the word adequate. This is an adjective from circa 1617. 1. Sufficient for a specific requirement, as in adequate taxation of goods. Also, barely sufficient or satisfactorily, as in her first performance was merely adequate. 2. Lawfully and reasonably sufficient, as in adequate grounds for a lawsuit. Synonym, it says see the word sufficient. Adequately is the adverb, and adequateness is the noun. The etymology is saying this is from the Latin adequatus, ADAEQUATUS, which is from adequare, which means to make equal. And this is formed by combining ad plus equare, which means to equal. And there's more at the word equable, EQUABLE. Next, we have the word, or I guess it's the phrase, ad eundem. And I don't think I'm pronouncing this correctly. Ad eundem. So it's two words. Ad is the first word, and then E-U-N-D-E-M is the second word. Ad-eundum. That is what the pronunciation is telling me. There's also another form that says ad eundum gradum. That's a third word that's added to the end, G-R-A-D-U-M. Actually, it looks like it's gradum. This is an adverb or an adjective from 1711. To, in, or of the same rank, used especially of the honorary granting of academic standing or a degree by a university to one whose actual work was done elsewhere. Next is, this looks French to me, and I'm probably going to butcher it, a deux. So it's a with an accent on it, and then the second word is D-E-U-X. Deux, something like that. This is the first form of it, adverb from 1702, privately or intimately with only two present, as in dined à deux. Next is the second form of à deux, which is now kind of fun to say. This is an adjective from 1869 involving two people, especially in private, as in a cozy evening à deux. I'm going to have to try and remember that when my wife and I have dinner. Next is ADF, all caps. This is an abbreviation for Automatic Direction Finder. Next is ad feminam. Two words, ad and then feminam, F-E-M-I-N-A-M. This is an adjective from 1963, marked by or being an attack on a woman's character rather than an answer to the contentions made. And it says compared to ad hominem, which I'm guessing is the male version. The etymology is from New Latin NL, which it says literally to the woman. I have definitely heard ad hominem. If you just said to me, what does ad hominem mean? I don't think I would have been able to come up with it. But ad feminam is new to me. But I guarantee I will probably start hearing this, because that always happens to me. I hear a new phrase or see something new, and then I all of a sudden just hear it over and over again. Next is ADH. This is an abbreviation for anti-diuretic hormone. Next is ADHD, abbreviation for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And if you will remember, probably a couple episodes ago, maybe 4 episodes ago, we had ADD, attention deficit disorder, and I had a little tangent about that. Next is adhere, A-D-H-E-R-E, all one word. This is a verb from the 15th century. Intransitive verb definitions are 1, to give support or maintain loyalty. 2, this is obsolete. It has the synonym accord 3, so the third definition of accord. And number 3, to hold fast or stick by, or as if by gluing, suction, grasping, or fusing. 4, to bind oneself to observance, as in adhere to the rules. The transitive verb definition is to cause to stick fast. And the synonym, it says, see the word stick. And I'm guessing that's not the stick from a tree, that is to stick something to a wall, for example. And the etymology is saying that this is basically from the Latin word which means to stick. I've pared it down. Next is adherence, noun from 1531. 1, the act, action, or quality of adhering. 2, steady or faithful attachment. Fidelity is the synonym. Next is adherent, first form. Adjective from the 15th century. 1, able or tending to adhere. 2, connected or associated with, especially by contract. So I'm going to reread that because it came out a little bit weird. Connected or associated with, especially by contract. 3 is the synonym adnate, A-D-N-A-T-E. Adherently is the adverb. And I'm going to do one more word for today. It's the second form of adherent, noun from 15th century. 1 that adheres, as a follower of a leader, party, or profession. B, a believer in or advocate, especially of a particular idea or church. And the synonym says, see the word follower. And that will end this episode. Thank you for listening. We will start the next episode at the word adhesion. And this is the last column of page 15. Yes, we are on page 15. And there's over 50. We're probably close to 60 now. 60 episodes. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode. First word for today is adhesion. This is a noun from 1624. 1. Steady or firm attachment. Adherence is a synonym. 2. The action or state of adhering. 3. The abnormal union of separate tissue surfaces by new fibrous tissue resulting from an inflammatory process. Also, the newly formed uniting tissue. 4. Agreement to join, as in adhesion of all nations to a copyright convention. 5. The molecular attraction exerted between the surfaces of bodies in contact. Adhesional is the adjective. Next, we have the word adhesive. The first form of it. This is an adjective from 1670. 1. Tending to remain in association or memory. 2. Tending to adhere or cause adherence. 3. Prepared for adhering. Adhesively is the adverb, and adhesiveness is the noun. And now we have the second form of adhesive. This is a noun from 1912. 1. An adhesive substance as glue or cement. Well, why do you put the word in the definition? Anyway, number 2. A postage stamp with a gummed back. Next is adhesive binding. 2 words, noun from 1955. We just have the synonym perfect binding. Adhesive bound is the adjective. Next is adhesive tape, noun from 1918. Tape coated on one side with an adhesive mixture, especially one used for covering wounds. Next is the term ad hoc, A-D space H-O-C, the first form of this. This is an adverb from 1659. For the particular end or case at hand, without consideration of wider application. The etymology for this is Latin. In fact, I think the term is just Latin, and it means for this. The second form of ad hoc is an adjective from 1879, 1a, concerned with a particular end or purpose, as in an ad hoc investigating committee. 1b, formed or used for specific or immediate problems or needs, as in ad hoc solutions. 2. Fashioned from whatever is immediately available. Improvised is a synonym, as in large ad hoc parades and demonstrations, and that is from Nat Hentoff. First name Nat, N-A-T, last name H-E-N-T-O-F-F. Next, we have the first form of ad hominem. And we've had a lot of these double form words. Just in this one column, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got another one coming up. And so if I remember correctly, this is similar to ad feminam, which we read in the last episode. But here we have ad hominem. Hominem? What's the correct pronunciation of this? Ad hominem. I'm just going to say it that way. This is an adjective from 1598. 1. Appealing to feelings or prejudices rather than intellect. 2. Marked by or being an attack on on an opponent's character rather than by an answer to the contentions made. And the etymology is saying that this literally means to the person. second form of ad hominem. This is an adverb from 1962. In an ad hominem manner. Again, thank you for that very clear definition. As in, was arguing ad hominem. Next we have adiabatic. Adiabatic. This is an adjective from 1859, occurring without loss or gain of heat, as in adiabatic expansion of a gas. Adiabatically is the adverb. This is a word that I am not familiar with. This is from the Greek adiobatos, which means impassable, and that is made combining the letter A plus diabatos, which means passable. So adding the A makes it the opposite, impassable. There's more. This is from diabining, which means to go across, and that is made combining dia plus bining, which means to go. And there's more at the word come, C-O-M-E. Next is the French word adieu, A-D-I-E-U. This is a noun from the 14th century. We have the synonym farewell, and it says often used interjectionally. And the etymology is kind of interesting. Looks like this is from the Anglo-French, and it literally means to God. So I guess when you're saying goodbye to somebody, you're saying go to God, or something like that. Don't know of all the details. Next is another Latin term, ad infinitum. This is an adverb or adjective from 1581. It means without end or limit, so something that just goes on and on and on. Next we have ad int, so A-D space I-N-T. This is an abbreviation for ad interim, which is our next word, and this is the last one on this column that has two forms, ad interim. This is an adverb from 1787, for the intervening time, and the synonym is temporarily. So if you want to sound a little fancy and you would normally say temporarily, you could also say ad interim. Second form of ad interim is an adjective from 1818, made or serving ad interim. Next is adios. So this is now the Spanish version of what we read before, adieu. It's funny that they're so close. Actually, it's probably not so funny because I'm sure that they're related, and we can look at the etymology. But this is an interjection. Was the other one an interjection? No, it just said noun. But this says it's an interjection from 1823, used to express farewell. And yes, if we look at the etymology, this literally means to God. So it says Spanish adios, which is from a Dios, A space capital D-I-O-S, which literally means to God. And I am pretty sure both of those are Romance languages, meaning they come from Latin. I hope I'm correct in that. So it's no wonder that they are spelled a little similarly. Next is a prefix, ADIP or ADIPO. It's not giving me a year, but the definition just says the word fat. And there's an example, adipocyte. And what does the etymology say? This is from Latin, probably originally Greek, alepha, which means fat, oil, and that's probably from alephine, which means to rub with oil, and there's more at the word aliphatic. And the last one for today is adipic acid. 2 words. This is a noun from 1877. A white crystalline A white crystalline dicarboxylic. Where's the emphasis? That'll help me. A white crystalline dicarboxylic acid, C6H10O4, formed by oxidation of various fats and also made synthetically for use especially in the manufacture of nylon. and that is spelled ADIPIC space acid, ACID. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. I am your host, Spencer, and we are starting at the top of page 16. 16 pages in. 1,000,002 to go. All right, first word is, let's see, adipocere? Adipocere. Oh boy, adipocere. I think that's correct. Noun. From 1803. A waxy substance consisting chiefly of fatty acids and calcium soaps that is formed during decomposition of dead body fat in moist or wet anaerobic conditions. The etymology is saying this is from French adipocere, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is made combining adip plus cere, C-I-R-E, which means wax. And then that is from the Latin cera or cera, C-E-R-A. Shout out to Michael Cera. And it says there's more at the word cerumen, C-E-R-U-M-E-N. Next is adipocyte. Adipocyte. Yep, noun from 1959. It just has the synonym fat cell. Next is adipose. I'm guessing this is going to be related to the last two words. This is an adjective from 1743, of or relating to animal fat. And then in italics it says broadly, and then just the word fat, which would be a synonym of some kind, in lower caps. Adiposity is a noun. Next is adipose tissue, noun from 1854, connective tissue in which fat is stored and which has the cells distended by droplets of fat. Next is Adirondack chair, and Adirondack is capital A-D-I-R-O-N-D-A-C-K. This is a noun from 1945, a wooden lawn chair with a high slatted back, broad arms, and a seat that is lower in the back than in the front, or than the front. This is from the Adirondack Mountains in New York. I always wondered where that word Adirondack came from, and now I know. Thank you, dictionary, you've done your job. Next is adit. Adit, I believe that is how it's pronounced, A-D-I-T. Noun from 1602, a nearly horizontal passage from the surface in a mine. The etymology is saying this is from the Latin aditus, which means approach. That is from the verb adire, to go to, which is made combining ad plus ire, which means to go. Ire, I-R-E, is one of the first and main Latin words you learn in Latin class. I just remember it coming up a lot. I did take 2 years of Latin in high school. I think I mentioned that once in many, many episodes ago. And it says there's more at the word issue, I-S-S-U-E. Next is ADIZ, all caps. This is an abbreviation for Air Defense Identification Zone. Next we have ADJ, lowercase. This is an abbreviation for 1. Adjective, 2. Adjunct, 3. Adjustment, or 4. Adjutant? Adjutant? Not sure of the pronunciation, but I'm assuming we'll get to that word shortly. Next is the word adjacency. Adjacency. Yeah, A-D-J-A-C-E-N-C-Y. This is a noun from 1646. 1. Something that is adjacent. Aha, adjacency. It makes sense now. 2. The quality or state of being adjacent. And the synonym is contiguity. C-O-N-T-I-G-U-I-T-Y. Next is the word adjacent. Surprise, surprise. This is an adjective. And just a little throwback, I'm seeing the letters A-D-J, which was our word from just 2 words ago. I see that abbreviation a lot reading the dictionary. So this is an adjective from the 15th century. 1a, not distant. The synonym is nearby, as in the city and adjacent suburbs. 1b, having a common endpoint or border, as in adjacent lots or adjacent sides of a triangle. 1c, immediately preceding or following. 2, in italics it says of two angles, having the vertex and one side in common. Adjacently is the adverb. The etymology is saying, let's see if I can pare this down, the Latin verb adjacere, which means to lie near, and that is from ad plus jacere, which means to lie, also akin to the Latin jacere, spelled the same, but it doesn't have a line over one of the e's, which means to throw. And there's more at the word jet, J-E-T. And we have some synonym information for adjacent. Adjoining, contiguous, juxtaposed mean being in close proximity. Adjacent, our main word, may or may not imply contact, but always implies absence of anything of the same kind in between, as in a house with an adjacent garage. Adjoining definitely implies meeting and touching at some point or line, as in had adjoining rooms at the hotel. Contiguous implies having contact on all or most of one side, as in offices in all 48 contiguous states. Juxtaposed means placed side by side, especially so as to permit comparison and contrast, as in a skyscraper juxtaposed to a church. And juxtaposition comes up a lot. That word comes up a lot in film editing. I took a bunch of film theory classes in college, and you often kind of use that word, oh, this shot juxtaposed next to this shot kind of makes it mean this, blah, blah, blah. Next is, I believe this is pronounced adjectival, A-D-J-E-C-T-I-V-A-L, adjectival. This is an adjective, interestingly enough. 1979. 1, it just has the synonym adjective. 2, characterized by the use of adjectives. And adjectivally is the adverb. This is definitely a word that I have not seen or heard before. And it's interesting if you kind of think about it. It's an adjective called adjectival to describe something as being in an adjective way or as an adjective. And of course now adjective is starting to sound really weird. And if I'm remembering correctly, and I had to take a moment to think about it, that is the term, which is the opposite of déjà vu, jamais vu. So I'm experiencing some jamais vu hearing and saying the word adjective a lot. Adjective, adjectival. Moving on. Oh, this is not going to help. It is the word adjective, the first form of it. It is an adjective from the 14th century. 1, of, relating to, or functioning as an adjective, as in an adjective clause. 2, not standing by itself. Dependent is the synonym. 3, requiring or employing a mordant. I'm not sure what mordant is, M-O-R-D-A-N-T, as in adjective dies, D-Y-E-S. 4, we just have the synonym procedural, as in adjective law, and adjectively is the adverb. It looks like the etymology is very similar to adjacent. I'm seeing another verb, adjacere, or is that the same word? Spelled similar, a little bit different, but adjacere, which means to throw to. The other one I think said, where to throw, jacere. And yes, that is from ad plus jacere, which means to throw, and there's more at the word jet. So very similar to adjacent, no wonder. Next is the second form of adjective. This is a noun from the 14th century. a word belonging to one of the major form classes in any of numerous languages and typically serving as a modifier of a noun to denote a quality of the thing named, to indicate its quantity or extent, or to specify a thing as distinct from something else. And I believe we will end the episode there on the word adjective. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to go ahead and record 3 more episodes. Thank you and goodbye.